people. Hey, 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 welcome! We got just a few more minutes here until we've got, Mr. Fred Russell going to be here if traffic will allow. He's actually running a couple minutes late, so it might just be me here twiddling my thumbs on the proverbial couch. But, I've spent some time on the couch, so I'm good with that. And this is going to be 10 years of Johniwanna, the interview. Yeah, you're going to learn things about me today that you might not even want to know. No, really, actually, it'll be fun. Nas will be running questions that are in the Discord, and he'll be gathering questions from chat. And Fred is going to be kind of running the interview, and I will then kind of cue every once in a while. I'll be like, "Let's take some more questions from the audience." So Nas will be collecting those as well as filtering in some of the questions from the Discord that you guys have already posted. Windswept Dragon, what are you trying to be? Sheep-headed here? What's up? Anyways, so that's what's happening here in just a few minutes. How do you like that starting soon screen, huh? Yeah, we brought in professionals, and things are starting to look mighty, mighty good around here. At least I think so. I'm blown away, in fact. But I'm excited to be answering some questions from you and from Fred. Fred, is head elfisti and the king of car curiosities. He has the coolest job of anybody, taking care of a multi-$100 million car collection. I don't even know what he might be showing. He could be showing up in a Ferrari 250 GTO. He could be. I don't know. That would be kind of crazy if he did. But he usually shows up in something pretty cool, even if he's driving his own car, which is pretty cool. So give me a few minutes here. I'll be back to check in with you before the show starts. And yeah, thanks for being here. All right, we got just a couple more minutes here, a couple more minutes until the show starts here, and traffic is screwing up Fred Russell. So what we'll do here, what we'll start out with, in lieu of Fred being here on time, is we'll start with some questions from the Discord that you guys submitted earlier this week, and that will be in just like one more minute here, and we'll start promptly at 4 o'clock. So as I've said in the past, give me just a couple minutes to catch my breath, and I'll be right back with you. All right, hey, welcome to a whole new setup here. Nas has been tricking out my streaming setup here. How do you like that starting soon screen, huh? Yeah, pretty cool stuff, huh? Yeah. Welcome. I don't have what I'm going to need here. I'm going to eventually need a chat monitor myself or something. I'm sitting here on the couch. And it's kind of a different shot. You've only seen this shot a couple times. Little Honda's behind me here. Honda that needs a new timing belt now. But that's okay. And this is the interview show. I could just talk, but pretty much this is the interview show. And it's all about 10 years of Johniwanna. The last 2 weeks, some people probably be like, why is that dude, God, he just keeps posting stuff about himself. What an egotistical jerk. Well, they'd be totally right. You know, it's all about me, 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 me. But I'll tell you what, I honestly am very happy and very excited. 10 years. I haven't done anything in my life for 10 years aside from be a good dad to my sons. And that alone is a life accomplishment. But as far as a career, I never stuck with the job. I haven't had a job for more than 5 years since I worked at Nintendo back when I was 19. So keeping a job for 10 years for me, not just keeping a job, but knocking it out of the park. Yeah, on every single time that I've been given something to do, I have. My enthusiasm continues to drive me to be the person that I am, and being Johniwanna for 10 years is something I'm really proud of. So I made a big deal out of it for the last 10 days. And so if you're tired of those posts on my social, well, I might have just a couple more, and then I'll be done, and then we'll go back to other random pictures of me telling you what I'm going to be doing going forward. But Fred is going to be here. Traffic, oh my God, I don't know how traffic screws things up for me when I'm trying to do something, but he's going to be here in about 5 minutes. So let's take some questions from the Discord that you guys submitted this week. Hey, this right over here, you can want to put your hand in there or something and be like, yeah! Nas is here. Nas has been tricking out the system. He is producing the crap out of this show. There's no crap in here at all. It's really awesome now. So I'm going to start out here with, this is, I've only been interviewed by like 2 people. Roby interviewed me once, like live, and then I was interviewed by the Rain City Supercars guys. And those were 2 very different formats that were before like pre-recorded things, and then they went live. Oh my! Wow, that sounds like. I believe Fred is here.
Someone's here.
I believe Fred is here. So We'll have to ask him what he drove because that sounds. I think that's a McLaren. I bet it's the McLaren. Anyways, so let's get on with at least one of your questions here as we go.
I think this is the most important question. Let's start with it. Bonds Pop want to know what snacks we were bringing.
Oh man, I got nothing. I got absolutely nothing. We spent basically every spare second getting the setup dialed in, building new stuff on my Johniwanna streaming setup, and we're basically like down to the wire. I didn't bring any snacks. Complete loss on my part. But Fred, I assume you ate before?
No.
Oh
No. My
fail.
goodness.
Absolute fail.
You two are actually going to switch spots.
Oh my
you're gonna sit
gosh.
over here. There he is. Dude, you're like right on time.
Well, you know, here's the deal. I was looking for some food on the way. I couldn't find any, so I figured if I came here, there'd be some.
Well,
So you're telling me there isn't?
And you walked in just in time to hear we have no snacks.
Ah,
no snacks. There are actual snacks I could get, but yeah, we're gonna keep this tight and succinct.
Oh my lord.
Otherwise, it'd just be nothing but eating sounds, and this is not an ASMR show. Although we might have ASMR shows going forward, because people do like that kind of weird crap. I mean,
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I'll eat noodles or pizza for you. if you haven't watched that, put an F in chat if you'd like to see me eat noodles or pizza or some other, not cucumbers,
How
not
about
bananas.
barbecue? I like barbecue too.
Barbecue?
Barbecue's good. You can make a good mess.
So long as it's not chicken on the bone.
No.
I don't do chicken on the bone. I'm a boneless guy. That's just the way I rule.
I like it. Hey, do these people know that you have been doing this crazy job for 10 years? That is insane. 10 years.
Let me say this: if they don't, they're not paying attention,
Ah.
which means they've been paying attention to how to not pay
But the
attention.
thing is, time flies. You know, so it's like
When you're having
you
fun.
think it's been like 3 years or 2 years, but no, it has been 10 years. You've been doing this for 10 years.
You know, in all honesty, it feels like 10 years.
Yeah.
It's been really fun, no question. But 10 years is a long time, and I've been personally tracking my progress as a human over these 10 years.
Yeah.
And I feel like I am a better human than I was back then. And
If you look like remember many years ago, about 45 years ago, you were in school, and they did these report cards. What would you give yourself for those 10 years?
is this the first question?
Oh, it is. It is right off the bat.
I'm not. I have the way I have phrased it is that I feel like I have knocked everything I've been given out of the park. Whether that was writing stuff or taking photos or going to interview really cool people or being given access to a race event, I did the absolute best I could, and that's kind of my motto. If you ask me for advice, what's the one piece of advice, John, that you'd give somebody, I say make everything you do your best one, and that's been what
But
I've
you've
tried
had
to do.
fun in the process too, so that's pretty tricky to be able to have fun and do a good job. That is awesome. How many people get to do that? Show of hands. How many people get to do that?
Yeah, I mean, given what I have been asked to do for the last 10 years, it's been somewhat easy to have fun doing that.
Nice.
But it has been a lot of work.
Sure.
But yeah, to answer your question, see, there's no quick answers. So I would give myself an A.
Yeah.
I would absolutely give myself an A. I won't go A plus because I know I could do better. I can always improve. But I would give myself an A definitely for effort. And in most cases, I mean, they're still letting me do this.
Let me check what they wrote. Oh yeah, an A for enthusiasm as well. I think
Enthusiasm, yeah.
Yeah.
If we were going to break that down, yeah, the enthusiasm's still there. Is my writing the best writing? Am I freaking Hunter S. Thompson? No, I'm not. Am I the best host that as soon as you start watching, you're like, dude, I gotta watch that guy? No, but I give it my best effort every time, and they keep letting me do it. So it's Microsoft, right?
Well, and
so
if you guys are out there, you know that it's fun. You know it's fun. So it's fun for you. It's fun for him. It's fun for us.
Yeah.
So that is the number one goal right there. I mean, that's what we're supposed to be doing in life.
Let's have a quick moment here.
Oh,
since
no.
We started a little late. So, ladies and gentlemen, Fred Russell, longtime friend of mine, met him at Turn 10 like 8 years ago, right? About 8 years ago.
I don't know, thereabouts.
And he's the president of the Alpha Club, of which I'm a member and on the board of. And he has a really awesome job. He quit working for Turn 10, doing what was pretty much the coolest thing in the world, flying around the world, taking photos of the most amazing cars in the world, and meeting those amazing people, and chatting with them, and increasing connections and sourcing. He quit that to have an even cooler job that we can't even talk about because it's so cool.
Yeah, it's too cool. Too cool to words. You know.
And then one other question I have to ask you: what did you drive here? Because
Did you hear it?
Your Alpha is really cool, and from what I could tell through the garage door, I kind of want to say McLaren because you're in traffic and you're not gonna drive the 250 GTO on 405 down here. I
thought about it, but no, I didn't. I took the 250 GTO out day before yesterday for a nice little drive, and that was nice. But today,
are you sure?
I had to settle for a V8 powered car.
Okay.
It does happen to have apparently 2 turbochargers on it, so it's a twin turbo V8. It doesn't have a roof.
So that's the McLaren.
It's ivory colored. It's a Ferrari. It's a Ferrari Portofino.
Oh,
yes.
Well, see, I have not seen this car in the collection, so
yeah.
So
yes, I get to play with cars every day, which is almost as much fun as what he gets to do every day because he plays cars. He gets to deal with people. He gets to talk to all of you. He gets to talk to me.
Yeah.
Hey, that adds to it.
I'm very lucky. So the way that we're going to kind of do this here is you're going to be conducting the interview.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while I will queue up Nas to bring in a question either from chat or from the Discord. But at this point, let's take another question from the Discord because I kind of want to knock those out so I don't have too many things to think about in my head because we all know what happens when that happens.
Oh, he goes crazy.
So, Nas, you got another question from chat?
So, for Motorsport or Horizon, what was the most difficult vehicle to gather facts about when you were writing your articles?
You can chime in on this, too. There's literally hundreds of cars that I wrote about. So, that is a really good question. And I want to say, I think I'm probably going to have to generalize because I can't think of one particular car. But I would probably say in general that some of the more obscure race cars that are in the game were the most difficult to get anything really interesting about. Because with those, what I would generally have to resort to is, some of their race performances, some of the drivers that drove them, and maybe a couple stats. Production cars tend to have a lot more information out there about them. People have reviewed them. There's information about them on Wikipedia or just Googling them. There's lots of stuff, but particular older race cars, there's not a lot of stuff unless you are really, spending hours and hours and hours digging down into the internet. And I usually had probably 30 minutes to an hour to spend researching each one of these cars before I had to puke out a very well conceived write-up.
Yeah, I remember getting a few phone calls from you, or you'd catch me in the hallway and say, "Whoa, dude," and you'd ask me a couple of simple questions about a car, and it was amazing how you would take those little answers I'd give. I might give you a couple odd facts and a couple little pieces of a story, and you'd go back and write this impassioned story about this car, and I'd be like, "Dude, amazing where you can go with a little info." Now I know you got some from other people too, but still.
Thank you, and
it was
compliments
cool.
from you. And water into wine, right?
I love it.
Not that we need wine, but kind of an analogy. Thank you for that, because that's maybe one of the things I loved is finding those little bits and creating something that became a piece of content. That other people then had their hands on as well. The research team, my copy editing team, Meckberg. There are many hands touching this. So I do not take credit for any of those things individually, but putting it together and creating that was really fun.
Yeah.
And I love reading my own stuff, just like I like laughing at my own jokes. So seeing that stuff in a finished form, I'm like, I made that,
But it was what's fun though is when we were in that office space, we are surrounded by people. Every single one of them has a car opinion, car thought, car ideas. Mm-hmm. Some of them have vast knowledge, some have a little bit of knowledge, but it all comes together. So all day, every day, we got to talk cars. So if you were working on an
job.
article, you'd write an article. If there was anything goofy in there that somebody didn't like, I'm sure they called you out on it. We didn't have to leave the studio. Somebody in the studio would ask you about it. So it meant that we had to be really careful about if we were going to state our case and say this is how it is, we had to know what we were talking about.
Oh, that's why they wouldn't just let me write a bunch of crap and just put it out there. That's why it had to be fact checked first, by people that are like, no, the actual CCs is this, because the internet lies, sometimes, and then sometimes there's different the models that I'm given like a title of a car name, right? Not specifically exact. Sometimes there's multiple interpretations or variants of the kind of car that I was given. I might have write about one, and it turns out, oh, actually that's the wrong one, or not specific enough. So
it is funny that it is such a mixture in society between what we think is the car and sometimes the stories behind the stories. And you touched on it, but you also did it in a way that was fun. I mean, you can actually feel some emotion in there. And sometimes when I write, it feels a little more like an encyclopedia. So if I had to read my articles or yours, I'll read yours. Yeah, it's just more fun.
Fred is also a great writer, though. You can find his stuff in all kinds of places. Avance Magazine, big contributor to the Alpha Club.
Oh yeah, those are collector's items right there.
They are. Well, did you see the collection that came with my my boat tail? Right, there was like this stack from 30 years worth of newsletters that somebody did actually keep.
Nice.
So at least one person keeps
Search that for the word Fred, and you'll find it in there a few times.
Oh yeah, along with a couple other words we can't say on this show.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I love it.
All right, so let's go back to you.
Well, so how many people here know? I mean, sure, a bunch of you guys probably already know this, but how many people know that somewhere along the line you went from being John Schomer to being Johniwanna? And how quickly did that happen? Was that like in the very beginning? Did that happen like?
Well, there's no short answer. I became officially I was Johniwanna back in the early 90s, whenever gamer tags became a thing, when Hotmail became a thing. So Hotmail, like way back, right? That was the first email I had, and I was Johniwanna at Hotmail.
Yeah.
And so years later, gamer tags were created, and so your gamer tag was based off of whatever your email was, whatever your login was, and so that became my gamer tag. And I never really played much multiplayer, and so nobody would have known who Johniwanna was until probably until I had my name on the forums.
Yeah, there you go.
And I was Johniwanna T10 community writer, and so that would be 2012, right now, that became the thing.
So I wonder how many people out there actually came across Johniwanna before you were at Turn 10. How many people?
Nobody.
Come on, somebody jump in on chat who said, no, I saw that guy. I saw him 14 years ago when he was just a kid.
No. There's, unless somebody from my personal circle is in chat who saw my personal post saying, hey, come hang out, which is possible. I don't know. They would be chiming in chat right now if they were. But nobody from the Forza community knew me before I worked at Turn 10.
I love it.
I know that for a fact.
The other question was the challenging ones. How about, was there just a favorite article that you wrote or a favorite car that you wrote about? Something that really made you happy as you did it?
I think the answer that I go to for that, and I talked about this over the course of the week, was my interview with Bruce Myers, the Myers-Manx.
Oh, yeah.
I through licensing, I often was able to get in contact with the person we sourced the car from. And in the case of Bruce Myers, I'm a Volkswagen problem person. You can see on the tail there, a victim of Volkswagenism. Totally true. Manx dune buggies were always an exciting thing for me. And once I had started researching Bruce Myers a little bit, I was like, wow, he's a really amazing person. And he passed away last year, unfortunately. And he was in his late 80s when I had the opportunity to spend the better part of 2 hours on the phone with him. And we connected. We absolutely connected. That phone call, it was like talking to my grandfather, except that my grandfather, who was a World War II veteran who survived a kamikaze attack, who then lived on an atoll in the middle of the Pacific trading beads for fish, and then who then later came back and was a surfer and just kind of lived off of his brain, and then who decided, you know what, I'm going to build this cool thing. in the back shed of this gas station, and then who got ripped off by all these companies, and who persevered and was pissed off, and when he did things that his life went to certain ways I could relate to, right, where things just don't go your way and you have to persevere through it, and then it comes back to you. And he was just, I loved him.
Yeah.
I loved the opportunity to talk with that man. And there was really not a lot of great information about his whole story and the development of the Manx. I was able to put that together into a story, and if those stories were still readily available on the internet, which they kind of are and they're going to be again, that would have been a resource for other people who would have wanted to know things about Bruce Myers. But that experience, that's the one.
But you had your chance. You got the chance that most of us would never get, which is to talk to Bruce Myers, and he's gone now.
Yeah.
So that's very, very cool.
I was sitting in the FJ Cruiser in the Turn 10 parking lot with my little microphone recorder thing, and on a phone call with him there, just because that was like the one quiet place I could go, and that was my 2 hours with Bruce.
Very, very cool. I like it. I like it.
Another question from the Discord.
That actually is great because that answered one of the questions. Who was your favorite interviewee?
Excellent.
Nice. Oh, sorry to jump in front of that. Whoa.
What is the most exhilarating moment you've had on stream in 10 years?
And who's that from?
That is from Car Power.
Car Power, thank you. What is the most exhilarating moment I've had on stream?
Sitting next to me right now. I mean that?
Pretty much. Let me just think of another dumb answer. Oh, wearing the banana suit that day. The moment I danced. No, I think the most exhilarating moment. There is a lot. I got to do streams with famous people like Connor Daly. With Suffering, we had a lot of fun doing things with Meckberg. But I think the most exhilarating moment was honestly when the PTG guys came with a complete surprise to me. Knock, knock, knock on the door, and Suffering comes in the door with these 2 dudes that I had no idea who they were. And she's like, "Hey, can these guys join you for a little bit?" And I'm like, yeah. And they brought me the shirt that's on the wall right behind, and if we had, and I would love to show that, but I would mess the camera angle up. But they brought me this shirt that went around the world, and a bunch of people from the PTG Pendulum Tuning Group signed that shirt, and they brought it to me, and this letter, and I was blown away. I was blown away. So exhilarating, is maybe not exactly the right word, but that experience blew me away. Got to hang out with those guys on the show for the rest of the day. They told me the story behind the shirt, and then I invited them back to the garage, and we hung out here for a while. So meeting people from the Forza community is always really fun for me because you guys are why I do this, and so meeting those guys and having them do something so special for me was a moment that I will never forget.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is every day what we get to do. When we get to play like this, it is a phenomenal. So it is very hard to suddenly pick out one of those little highlights because tomorrow could be another highlight, and 3 days ago was a highlight. And they were all highlights.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the key moment there being on the stream.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably one of the on the stream moments. That's got to be the one. That's the one.
I love it. Love it.
Back to you, Fred.
Well, you've also done some very cool videos. You've done there was some videos that you did. You did some cool interviews with people with amazing cars. The Honda Civic, mid-engine Civic comes to mind, things like that. So why don't you tell us about just the fun of doing those videos? What was that like to make those? Because you actually had to be there as they're making them. That's different than normal.
I think so. Ben Abrams kind of he said what I really did was I was the executive producer, and in some cases I was more hands-on, and in some cases I was completely hands-off, and so it was really fun. It was a pressure thing because I had a very low budget to be able to create quality that was worthy of being put up on a Microsoft on Turn 10's page. So that I really had I interviewed several different production companies. And went with Archive Media for 3 videos and was able to convince eGarage to do the other 3 videos. eGarage is a really high value car production company, and they were in because of the opportunity.
Yep.
So it was super exciting for me to kind of build that coalition and then come up with the ideas. Right, I picked the 3 ideas that Archive was Hondura and the Ferrari Dino. And and John Knowles' 356
Yes.
notch. And then eGarage came up with the Wagoneer video, which they totally did on their own. I had nothing to do with that. And the Saline twin turbo, working with Roy Katz, was totally thrilling. And they kind of took all my feedback for what I thought would be a really cool video of kind of working with a car person, telling that story through some of the Seattle landmarks,
Yep.
and driving the Saline twin turbo around Pike Place Market in downtown. And then Ben came up with the concept of the Lancia 037 out at Maryhill, and he threw a tremendous amount of effort and budget at that to make that something that the people at Petrolicious definitely would have watched and been like, wow,
Yeah.
that's an awesome video, because every time I watch it I just get chills.
Those things are fun. But the Honduras, I mean, you had the people sitting here on your couch as well, and that's so fun because that car has a story and those people have a story, and so you got to tell that story both in video, but also in person and stream it.
And those guys, I love both of those guys, both the creator and the owner at the time. But they were so hard to work with on camera because they're one of the few people I've worked with that were like, they had total, just like, they froze up. I asked one question and they were like, yeah. And when we did the video, it was totally different because we were just like hanging out and it was all to be edited later. But on the live show, I had to do a lot of filling in and then queuing up again and be like, so really, actually tell me a little bit more, but it was fun because I loved those guys. And that video is actually, I think, the 5th or 6th most watched video that has ever been put up on the Turn 10 YouTube.
Nice.
Because the Honduras is so rad. It got picked up by The Drive and a couple other internet car sites. And then when the guy sold it on Bring a Trailer, it went nuts. He was hoping to get $15,000 for that car.
Yeah.
It sold for $50,000.
Oh.
And it was an internet sensation again. And of course there was reference to the whole interview and the video. So it got picked up by great outlets because it was a really awesome car. And the video was pretty well done. I got to see it sideways, and so that was super fun. I love producing videos. I have some projects actually on the back burner that are not the back burner, that on their
the forward burner, the
that
next burner.
that are heating up,
Percolating.
I have some things that are percolating to work on in the future to make more videos, not necessarily for Turn 10, but things you can find on my channel later and on other people's channels that I will be playing a producer, somewhat directorial role in.
Nice.
I love doing that stuff.
Very, very cool. Yeah, the videos and live streaming, it's all very fun, but you're also online you're playing the games. And one of the things I think cracks me up the most is some of the artwork that people do. They put together a car and they do graphics that is totally Johniwanna. We're talking crazy. The VW bus the other day. That thing amazing. But there's been so many over the years.
There have been.
Yeah, why don't you talk about a couple of?
It's a total honor to be put on a car in Forza, to be
this face right here. Yeah.
And here's the kind of fun thing. Some people have said, "Hey, John, so here's what I'm thinking of doing this, and please don't get offended," which is fine. And I'm like, "Dude, it's cool. It's awesome. Go with it." One of the first things I asked people to do, I was like, will you please make a vinyl of me to put on the back bumper of a car so when I'm in racing that I'm a distractor face? Because, so I was like, on the back of a car. And so there's that. PTG Wildcat made this awesome version of my Porsche that I have on my business cards. PTG Wildcat's rendition of me with my big beard braid as kind of a slightly older Johniwanna than I am right now, is on all my logos. The stuff that Snake Eyes Free has done are just
our Johniwanna Garage logo that's in the box.
The Johniwanna Garage logo that's in the box right now from Snake Eyes Free. The Forza community has absolutely contributed, and I just sometimes I've asked people to do things for me because I'm like, hey, this is something I'd really like to celebrate, like the 10 years of Johniwanna thing. And other times they're just like, dude, I made this for you.
Yeah.
And there's all different levels of artists out there, and I've seen some artists go from being, obviously kind of new to using the tool to develop into a really amazing artist.
And the tool's gotten better over the years too. Oh
too.
my lord! For over those 10 years you've been doing this, the tool has come a long way.
It has.
And oh
It has.
lordy, it's fun. What can be added?
But I mean, how lucky am I to be the target of people's artistic ambitions in some cases, and I love that. I love every time when somebody says, "Hey, I made something for you," so long as it's not like offensive, because a couple times people have done things that they think is funny, and they definitely might have been funny outside of the context of what we actually do on the stream. But yeah, super fun to be me in that sense.
Well, admittedly, I mean, it's hard to know where people want to draw the line. I mean, things sometimes are funny, sort of in private, but you can't get crazy out there.
This is our moment where we just mentioned, we're E for everyone, we're family friendly,
Hey,
and
there
so
we
we
go.
want to keep things in those boundaries. And but I also live outside those boundaries in my regular life, so I appreciate anything that
Yep.
somebody's created, so long as they make me look good, which is easy.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So those are fun. I know those are fun pieces of all the writing, all the graphics, all your online activities. But do people know what a good photographer you are? Because you suddenly one day picked up a camera and said, "Dude, how do you work this thing?" And you had to figure out which end points toward the car or which points toward the scenery.
It's confusing.
But you started to figure that out. One of the things I like is you jumped in with both feet. You were like, "Yeah, I want to do this." And you were out taking all these pictures, and then you came along for people like me and go, "Dude, look at my photos and tell me what you think." And we had to work. We had to actually get back to you and respond and tell you some advice. So, what do you think? Did you have fun with photography, and what are you going to do with that?
I never really thought of doing any real photography until I started working at Turn 10. And I had one of those little point and shoots.
Yeah.
And, I was seeing all this stuff, and I was put in this position to write stories about car stuff and write stories about car culture, people. And a lot of times I would have people send in photos, and sometimes when people were local, I had the opportunity later to take those photos myself. But I totally dove in with that little point and shoot out at what was my favorite car show, where I met Northwest Bunny, not that year, but years later, the Waterworks car show out in North Bend, that little point and shoot. And I had this power to share things.
Yeah.
Right? I had a venue to share stuff. And it gave me material to use in rearview mirror so I could cover car shows. And so not only was it a place to showcase my work, but it also gave me content to actually to do stuff with. And and I learned more. I got away from the point and shoot. I borrowed cameras from Turn 10 on several occasions. When I shot the RS200 Evo out at Dirtfish, that was like a turning point. When I had that opportunity, I was like, man, I do really like camera stuff because you can get close to cool cars.
Yes.
And but that was with a borrowed camera from Turn 10, and then later I bought the Rebel T3i that we were supposed to use for the show today, but it turns out it's got a crappy picture. And we're still working on that. And and I bought a wide angle lens, and I bought a big telephoto lens. Actually, my contracting company that I worked for bought those for me, and in turn bought them back from them. And then a couple years ago, I bought a new 4D and a really fancy lens. And I haven't been out shooting as much as I like to.
Did you buy that 4D from some guy in a van who said, "Hey, dude, it's used, but I want because I'm missing mine.
Oh.
It got stolen, so I'm assuming maybe."
Northwest Bunny bought it from Canon.
All right.
But yeah, that's
Just making sure. Just checking.
That sucks. But yeah, I think I found something that I felt like I was good at, and it definitely, to be a good photographer for me was, here's this opportunity. Dude, you've got a media pass to be at Long Beach. You can walk all these places nobody can go, and you can get right up close to the cars and stick your hand out over, and feel the exhaust gases hitting you.
Yep.
And so that opportunity is something that I just cherish. And so I put my 100% energy behind it. I get into this mode where everything I see is behind the camera. And thank you for saying that my photos are good, because I love shooting photos.
Well, it's fun because you can write about what you photographed, or you can photograph exactly what you want to write about. I mean, they play so well together, and a lot of times, a good writer doesn't always know how to hold a camera. So thank you for picking up a camera, figuring out which end is the right end, and using it. I think that's great. It adds to it.
Yeah.
So very, very cool. You've done it. A couple of times you and I have gotten together and gone and done photos. You've done it out at the racetrack out here. You photographed cars out there. What else did we go with cameras? We did a couple things.
Well, recently Mary Hill.
Oh, Mary
Hill
Oh, that was
Loops Road.
funny. We were up on the top of the hill looking down at this little guy running around down there from corner to corner taking pictures of cars. Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and I everywhere that I can, if I've given that access, I make absolute best use of it. I walked the entire track if possible. I walked almost the entire, I did walk the entire Mary Hill Loops route.
Yeah.
And it was hard. It was like 90 degrees and it's totally uphill but that's fun for me. When I went to Le Mans, I walked half of the Mulsanne straight. I walked every bit that I had access to. When I was at Bathurst, I walked around the entire track that you have access to. You can't actually walk all the way around Bathurst. But yeah, things you and I have done, car shows you've put on, I've gone and shot those shows.
Or the one down at Goldendale, that was a fun one because there was all these, just a nice mix of cars that, what was that one that was the Studa Cuda?
Oh yeah,
we're talking all these awesome cars.
Yeah.
And you could walk away with that car, you could see it and it's cool, but you, by capturing it, you post it, everybody else can now see that crazy car, that crazy thing, which that guy did a beautiful job of.
I love to share.
Where are you going to see a Studa Cuda?
That if you go back to the Johniwanna Facebook page, photo albums, go back to the Mary Hill, that's like the second set, and it's a really amazing custom. Yeah. But that's the thing, is I love to share.
Yeah.
That's why I'm good at talking. That's why I put, when I take a whole bunch of photos from something, the hardest thing for me to do is to cut that down into a consumable packet of photos. Because every single one, I'm like, oh, I like that one because of this. I like that one because of this. And that's the hard part for me and then actually choosing to edit them rather than just going, oh, here we go, click, they're out, yes. But so I'm, as you know, I'm not kind of a pay attentioner, and sometimes I'm a little too excited. So I had to create time to make some of those photos better on some occasions. Tomorrow I'll be bringing my camera on the Alpha Club Drive tomorrow that we're doing.
He's going.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll be taking some photos there, so those will be things you can look at.
I'm a giving soul because I'm going to let him
totally
go on this drive, even though he's not driving an Alfa Romeo. Yeah,
you let me in the club without even owning an Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, come to think of it.
But I did end up owning one, so now I have.
Yeah.
I have felt the joy.
You got a shred of cred.
I could feel the joy again at another time. But yeah, that was just let's take another question from the Discord and a question from chat.
Okay, question from chat from Guys WRX. If you could redo any interview you've done, which would it be?
Oh my.
I hate it when people constantly say that's a great question, but because if you watch great interviews, a lot of cool interviews out there, that's something that just comes out of people's mouth. But that's a great question.
It really is.
It is. It requires thinking, and I think that in general, I try to do research before every interview that I've had, and then other times I've had to just wing it. Like when I was able to interview, it's not on this hat, Richard Petty. That was kind of like, hey John, we actually have access to Richard Petty. Would you like to interview him? And I was like, no, not really, sorry. And they were like, well, we'd really like you to. And then I was like, okay. But one that I would really like.
Spur of the moment is always tough on those interviews, but
yeah. Is there one that I would have liked to do better? It's been quite a while since those stories. I don't think I can pick out one in particular. So I think I'll come at this as a philosophy that I think the best thing to do, and I take each one of these opportunities to interview somebody special, or if they're just the guy down the street with the car, with equal levels of seriousness. So I do research about the person, whether it's asking them pre-questions about what their passions are and so I have material to work with on a real interview, or if it's somebody like Craig Jackson from Barrett Jackson. I did a lot of research on him beforehand, so I would have some things and not just be able to fly from the seat of my pants, which is what I am really good at. Some of the interviews that I did for for the Voices of Motorsport feature that was part of Forza Motorsport 7. I think some of those could have been better. I can't point out one in particular, but I do remember some of those, being good interviews, but looking back on it going, man, I wish I would have done this. Patrick, not Patrick
Dempsey?
Not Patrick Dempsey, Porsche factory driver. I can never remember his last name. He was tough because he's a super smart dude, and I was kind of intimidated. So I think sometimes if there's something I would look back on, it would be to just make sure I'm not starstruck. And I never really get starstruck, but I think in some cases, some people can be a little intimidating, and it's
Patrick Long.
Patrick Long, yes, thank you.
It's a tough name.
Patrick Long, he's not only awesome professional championship level driver and a consummate collector of awesome cars, but he is a really well spoken person, and I'm really just a guy. So Patrick, I guess to answer the question, Gene, I'll say Patrick Long. I would have liked to do a little bit better with Patrick Long.
Nice, nice.
And from Discord or from chat?
From Discord, this could be from Sax Comic. Is there ever a time you had made a last-minute decision about a written article, and how did it turn out?
On several occasions, and thankfully, when I thought I was done with something, that went to Meckberg. Meckberg was there to edit my work and make it better reading grammatically, because I don't have an English degree, and Meckberg has a journalism degree, and he's a massively smart, awesome mentor for a young writer, for a writer like me. But there were some pieces like when that special nuclear age car came to the game, and it was a partnership with from Fallout. What's that car? I can never remember the name of it. It was the bubble top. First time that a car from another game that didn't really exist came into the game. They came together. I wrote what I thought was the angle I wanted to take it from, and I sent it to Meckberg. And then Meckberg would read things over, and sometimes he would say, let's redirect on this. I like what you've done here and here, but I want you to rethink this and rethink this. And so in those cases, that would be kind of down to the wire, because I had already thought that I was kind of done. When I turned something over to Meckberg, he would do his thing, edit it, and it'd come back, I'd accept the edits, and I'd put it in the system. And so when he would kind of surprise me and say, oh, hey, let's do some more work here and here and here, I loved that, because he's always right. But it would put me kind of under the wire to get get those changes in, take the redirection, and turn things back around.
That's
the Chrysler Rocket 69.
The Chrysler Rocket 69, yes. And those were super fun stories to tell as well. You talk about the Chrysler Rocket, you talk about the Halo Warthog, the Hot Wheels Bone Shaker. All these things were evolutions of how cars were brought into Forza. Right before it was Fred going out and taking a whole bunch of pictures of this thing from a real car that really exists, and then they're digitized and blah blah blah, touched up and put in the game. And then eventually, finally, with the Chrysler Rocket, they decided to just make something awesome with a joystick. That was just amazing.
Yeah.
And was it does everybody want to drive it? Yes. Was it the greatest car that ever came to Forza? No. But it was this amazing experience, and those different cars changed things in that sense.
It was so funny, because in my little brain, because I thought the way to get a car in a game was to take the pictures, you sit down, you do your research, and you push a real car into the pipeline, and it comes out into the game. But, oh my gosh, I was thinking, where in the world did you find a real Chrysler Rocket? I mean, where do you find? Because I couldn't imagine that you could take it from a game and put it into a game.
Yeah. But so that was a really detailed story to tell. You had to give credit to Turn 10 developers. I mean, I had interviewed several people in Turn 10, and whoever makes Fallout, interviewed several of the developers there, and then other business side of things. How does that work to create a partnership between two studios that do totally different things? So that was a groundbreaking thing.
Yep. I love how you turn though pieces of your life somehow go into your stories too, because you've written stories about just a weekend trip you go on, or you get a car given to you by a local car dealership to drive for the next 2 or 3 days. You drive it, and you come back and say, "Hey, I'm gonna write about this." I mean, so you're having fun not just in the studio, but whatever you do in real life becomes part of your gaming world, just like the gaming world part of your real life. I mean, I just think that's a wonderful mix.
It's content, content, content. The car behind me right here, this little Honda Guy's WRX, I bought it from him, a Forza community member, and you know, so buying that car, that's a story that I got to kind of tell through streams and take photos of it and share it and fix on it. And now, you know, and I thought I was going to go take it out and get the metal work done, and it would be ready to go for sale. And now the timing belt just broke, which, you know, just crazy timing for that to happen. And yes, that sucks because it takes me like 3 steps back from where I thought I was with that car. But what content? Now Nas and I are going to pull the head on the little Honda, and we're going to fix that, and you get to watch.
Nice.
So it is fun. I mean, it's not like I'm that one guy in that one movie where the camera is always on me and I'm living in my real life story, but it's really fun for me to be able to share the fun stuff that I do in my life with you. Hudson was in here a little while ago. He's been on the shows. You know, for kids to be able to be experiencing real life streaming personality and how it actually happens. That's really fun. And like I said, borrowing the Fiat 124 Spider for that weekend, which was amazing. I go into a dealership and I'm like, yeah, can I have one of your brand new Fiat 124 Spiders? I'd just like to put like 1,000 miles on it over the weekend. I'll write a story and take a bunch of pictures for you. And they were like, yeah. And I was like,
wait, what?
I was like, oh, really? Sweet! And it was so fun, and nothing bad happened. But we had a great time with that car, and got to tell that story of a car that also was coming to Forza at the time. The Fiata, right, is a pretty amazing thing, and so that it's fun. My life is shared with you guys in many ways. You know Northwest Bunny, you know my boys Hudson and Waven,
and each of your cars, and
all my cars for sure. That for me. I now also use it as a justification, where if I want something like the Fiat, the Alpha that came along, or the work that I'm doing to the Porsche, the Squareback, and this car, I can justify it by saying, this is what I do. This is more street cred. This is content. This is what I do. And so not only am I just doing it because I love to have these cars and I can't help myself, but I do it because it's like that'll be fun to share.
Nice.
You know, this little Honda especially. I was always wanted one of these. You know, I always wanted one. So when the right one came along through guys, I was like, I'm buying it. You know, did I really have the space for it? Was I really in the market to buy one then? Absolutely not. But did I buy it because I thought it'd be cool and because that's what I do? You know, it's a self-enabling circle of destruction, and I wouldn't complain or change a thing.
Carholics Anonymous. Here's John.
Yeah, I call it Volkswagenism, but you could actually change it to Hondaism or carholics. It's a problem, but as they say, it's a good problem to have.
Exactly.
Got another one for me?
Yeah, Jens from Discord would like to know if there was one of your shows on the Forza channel that you could bring back, which would you choose?
If there's one of my shows on the Forza channel that I could bring back. Does that include like writing, or is that shows itself? As far as shows, I would definitely love to do another Along for the Ride series. Those videos that I did for YouTube, that was really fun. I think there is so much potential there to tell the stories of the cars that we love to drive in Forza. I think I would love to do 100 of those. And now that COVID is past us, my Wheel and Pedal Wednesday show, which is now called Johniwanna Garage Cars of Forza, that had to go away for like a year. And certainly it was like way easier for me to just do gaming shows. But I'm so glad to have that back, because that, for me, that's the interview. That's the meeting with car people. That's the standing next to a car that's shooting fire out the exhaust, burning up my microphone diffuser. Those are moments that can only happen when you bring in people with awesome cars. And this month, on the 23rd, I've got what's going to be one of the most awesome shows ever. And I think I always say that because I'm really excited about myself. But Steve Huff of Steve Huff Motorsports, he's a guy that spends his money really wisely on breaking world speed records on 2 wheels, 4 wheels, water, and he's got an electric, the world's fastest electric dragster. His goal is to make it the first electric 6-second dragster.
Jeez.
And that's going to be right here. I don't know if it's even going to fit, but that's happening this month. He's going to be here. He's bringing his bulldog. Garage Asylum. Brian is going to be here as well, taking photos. That was that was a great show. He brought the Lethal AMX. So yeah, if I can bring something back again, if Turn 10 would throw me some budget and give me that opportunity, I'd love to do another Along for the Ride series. But I'm also extremely happy that COVID is somewhat different and less of a complete boondoggle to our lives, that I can have, that we can sit on the couch together.
Yeah.
You know, that we can hang out. Nas and I met, you know, like a month and a half ago, right when the COVID was hitting another wacky, dumb spot, and you know, we wanted to hang out, but we couldn't because it was really just not really the right choice to make. But thankfully, things have gotten better, and we're able to. Doesn't it feel weird?
It does.
Doesn't it?
It
I mean,
does.
It almost feels naughty that we're in here
It's-
like hanging out together.
We're doing something bad.
With no masks on. Oh my
With
goodness.
no masks, but we're okay.
Yeah.
I was wearing one in the car on the way here, though.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, that's handy.
You're one of
That's-
those guys.
that's helpful.
He is one of those guys. Yeah.
With the top down in the car on the freeway. I still got my mask on.
That's a photo moment. You were already internet famous, but now you're internet famous in another way.
What a freak! Yeah, what's that guy?
Yeah, those people.
If they only knew, I was actually singing country music songs from the 80s while driving the Ferrari with the top down and my mask on. So that is a real
Okay,
mixed up
wait.
story.
Rewind, delete that. Let's move forward again. Fred's actually cool.
Just gives people something to think about.
Yeah.
So-
Do you got another one from chat, or I don't want people to take the effort of making questions
come up
and
with-
then not.
I actually think we've gone through most of the questions.
Okay. What's our time? Do you need to be out of here at a certain time, or do we just kind of go until we're bored?
Yeah, I do have a ferry to catch.
Question.
Okay, so
Here's a quick question. Would you ever consider doing a show where you're interviewing community members?
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome.
But-
Awesome question.
Yes, I would, but no, I wouldn't, because Roe before TV is doing that. She has Roe before TV. You guys probably know her. She has an awesome podcast called We Are Forza, right? That's the name of it. Is We Are Forza. She's interviewed me, and that's what she is doing: is interviewing different people from different aspects of the Forza community. And I think she's really fun to work with. She does a great job with that. Would I do that? Would I step on her toes and do it while she's doing it? No. But she is doing an excellent job with that, so I think that thing's handled. But I love interviewing people from the Forza community. That's what, if I can make that connection and bring them in here for Cars of Forza, Johniwanna Garage Show, that's like the perfect storm, right? When we have a Forza player with a cool car, lives locally, and is willing to come hang out with me for a couple hours here in the garage. That's pretty perfect.
I know you've done a couple of the people that own the cars that have been put into Forza. So, that's a piece of it as well. And I like that because you're getting the real car, their real passion and their connection, and it goes right into the game where everybody else gets to share a piece of that thanks to them.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the dream, right? That was my big pitch when I was pitching Along for the Ride. That was my big pitch, is that we, maybe not all the time, but sometimes when we're sourcing a car from, throw a name out there.
Peter Gleason.
Peter
Gleason. He's a hero of mine.
He also lives locally. When we have that access to have somebody that's willing to have a video done and tell a story of their ownership of the car and tell that actual story of the car, I think that's money.
I mean, and to me, as the guy that had to go out and find the cars and then capture them and bring them into the game, every time I see the car in game, I can still picture the original car that we shot, and the people behind it. So to me, it's a joy when you can bring that to the gamers. Everybody who's out there playing, who loves the game, they can see a little bit more history behind it. They can see, oh my God, there's the real car. There's the real guy. There's the real whatever.
Yeah, and I was able to do that for a couple of years. Once a month, the Heavy Metal Affliction story would be about one of the cars that was coming out in DLC. And some of those I was able to connect with the actual person it was sourced from and tell that story of the vehicle and their ownership of it.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, you guys tell me, wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't that be cool? Because I mean, some people are like, I don't care, I just want to drive the car. But some people would like to know, well, who owns that car?
Yeah.
Where is that car? You know, it depends on what it is. That little Chinese van thing that just came out, well, maybe not so much.
Maybe not that.
Because that might just be, but actually that's a cool story too, to work with the manufacturer and say, so why'd you build this thing? You know, tell me about key cars. You know, all this stuff. There's so many angles to come at a story from that, because all that crap's interesting to me.
Yeah.
And if it's interesting to me, then it puts me in a good position to ask questions that I think are interesting. And if they're interesting to me, they're hopefully interesting to you.
Well, you know, and if you're sitting out there, you're playing a game, you have a Toyota sitting in the garage. Well, there's people out there who've used their cars before that are just the exact same shoes as you are. There was a lady that had a car in her garage, and I wanted that car, and that's what I went to all the way to the UK and photographed, and it became the Ford Fiesta Mark II in the game.
XR2?
So yes,
XR2.
and that car, she doesn't have a car collection. She's not some crazy person who hires me to drive their cars. No, she has one car. I just love it. She's young. She's passionate about it, and so her car was the one that went in the game. Even though I probably could have found better ones, I liked hers because I liked her story, and her car was right. So we made a great car. So that is the kind of thing I like. Those kinds of stories being shared, not necessarily hers, but all those stories, because it's just a part of connecting people.
Yeah, there was the XA Falcon from Forza Horizon 2. Yeah. I worked with that shop. I forget their name. They're a shop that basically loves Falcons and Fords in Australia, and that's what they do: is they find them, they restore them, they connect people who love them, and those guys were just super passionate about those cars. So working with them and telling that story of what they do and behind the story behind that particular car, that was awesome. Yep. Thank you to Jin Kim for hooking me up with a lot of those stories. Jin Kim works on the team that you used to. I was on the sourcing team. He's an awesome dude. He takes amazing pictures, and he builds a great rapport with every single person that he works with. Where are we at on time?
We're at 5 minutes.
5 minutes until 1 hour?
Till we're at 5, yes.
Okay, do we need to do 1 hour? Do you want to do 35 more minutes? How do you feel?
I don't think I can go 35 more minutes just because where I have to be.
Okay.
We can't. If you want to stay here, I bless that.
No, I portrayed this as an hour-long show, so maybe we'll go 5 minutes long to make sure we've got all the questions from chat in there.
I got one more Discord question, but also let's share that fancy Be Right Back screen just for a second here.
Oh, yes,
yes.
Oh, really?
Check this out.
While you keep talking.
These are the tools, yeah.
Nice.
There's our Be Right Back screen.
Check that out.
So the question is, out of the Forza games you've played, what are your favorite cars in the games? And that was from Card Power as well.
Okay.
Nice.
Are we still on mic right now?
Yes, we're still on mic. We're still
so
live.
this is what you get to see on Be Right Back when you watch my channel.
Nice.
Yeah. Does John know how to drive?
Woo!
Yes, John knows how to drive. You may have seen those videos on the Heavy Metal Affliction Instagram. When I was basically done with the tires on my 991 Carrera S, I was like, you know what? I've been waiting to do this since I bought this car and show off a little bit. That was like, I think I did that for about an hour in Northwest Penny. He was like, really? And I was like, well, they're not even corded yet. But with how much that car costs and how much it means to me, there is a significant risk. But when I've done that in my cars or in other cars, I don't take risks. Sure, it's risky to do donuts in any car, but I never put that car at risk doing that, whether it's mine or when Kevin Marcus let me drive his 458 Special doing donuts out there in the rain. When I did it in the Sketch Limo on two different occasions.
Oh,
that
was
like
so
29,
awesome.
29 feet of the American Dream swinging its big around in my driveway, and it never touched anything. Ben Niles also drove the crap out of it and never put anything at risk. So it's really fun, but that does, let me disclaimer it by saying, it does take skill. I have been professionally trained by several different driver skills / instructor sessions / high-speed driving events / dirt fish training, and
Yeah.
several other things that I can't even talk about because I'd have to kill you. But
Nice.
seriously.
Your black and white cat's hanging out. Is that Mickey or?
Oh, that would be Mallory.
That's Mallory. That is Mallory.
So, Fred, do you have another question that was on your list that you wanted to get to before?
I just kind of wanted to know. So this has been you've been having fun for 10 years. What's coming at us next after this? What's the next 10 years going to hold for us? You're going to keep playing, I hope.
Well, certainly that's up to turn 10. You know, I serve at the pleasure of my master. I serve at the pleasure of Forza, and I would hope that you know, these 10 years that I've built a pretty good following, built 2 channels up to 100,000 followers. For whatever reason, you know, people keep watching, and I think it'd be a damn shame if you know, all the people that do like me were not able to watch me. But that's totally up to them. But if I have my druthers, I will do this until, you know, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
By whatever means that I can't do it anymore. And on the side, the Johniwanna Garage shows that I'm doing on my own channel are going to build another way to create crossover between the real car community and the Forza car community, and the Forza car community to the real car community. So that's something I'm actively pursuing constantly here. Nas has been awesome helping build the quality of the production on the channel there. And you're going to see the Honda here get fixed. You're going to see the VW motor get pulled here shortly. We're going to build a video about my Porsche Super Carrera engine being rebuilt. So there's things I'm doing that are complementing what I do on the Forza channel. I look forward to every opportunity that Forza gives me, whether it's going to SEMA or you know, interviewing people, or you know, or just playing the latest game
Exactly.
for you, because you know what, that's pretty fun. So yeah,
That's nothing wrong with that, Future. Just keep that going.
We'll have to see. I mean, you guys follow my social channels. That will be where I'll be posting about things that I think you'd be excited about, things I want to share. That will definitely be the place to see, you know, what I'm doing. And you can say, John, no, don't V8 swap the Super Carrera. Or John, do V8 swap the Super Carrera. You know, your opinion actually matters to me. I'm not going to do anything specifically to impress you, but if somebody said something cool, like, well, I almost bought a Turbo S 911 a couple weeks ago because Jeeves said it would be a good idea. And then after a while, I was like,
Nice.
you know, I'm actually really happy with the cars I have, and I'm not going to make that jump yet. But Oliver, another example here, and we'll let you go in a couple minutes here. When I was shopping for my fancy Porsche, I told him that I probably wanted a cabriolet, and I definitely wanted it to be a manual. And Oliver sent me a link. He said, well, this car is a coupe, and it's PDK, but I think you should look at it. And guess what? He was so totally right. I'm so glad I don't own a cabriolet. If it was a manual, I would probably be even that much more psyched about it. But the PDK gives me this complete contrast of a digital Porsche versus an analog Porsche. One that is massively fast and thinks a lot for you to keep you safe, and one that is completely the seat of the pants. So it couldn't be a better dichotomy there to even consider. So he was right. And so I do listen to you, and I do appreciate your opinion on many things. Anything else you got?
I have one question for you, actually, myself, and I know some of the answer to it, but favorite car, bottom line.
Favorite car, bottom line, Volkswagen Bus.
Oh
Volkswagen Bus makes me smile more than anything. I was raised on them, in them. I have owned 6 or 7 of them. I would love to have another one, but they're like $100,000 these days. I have a part of one out here. Volkswagen Bus, that car just makes me smile. I could take 100 pictures of it and not even have begun to get bored.
What about your most desirable? Like,
oh, if I had money to do whatever I want, I would buy a McLaren. I would buy a McLaren. You know, 720S seems like it's kind of the luxury, super fastest model of all of them. The 650 also seems really desirable. There's something about McLaren, that attention to making the vehicle an absolute extension of you in that supercar realm, that is appealing to me. Ferraris are ridiculously awesome. I love them. Lamborghinis are angry and ostentatious and sick. But McLaren is kind of like all that wrapped up into an extension of your greatest ability to make a car go fast, and they sound, Fred.
Oh, they sound great.
What
Trust me, they drive great. They sound great. Yeah, I mean, everybody who gets in the car smiles when I get them back out. They're like, woo!
What about a 675 with that noisy roof scoop option?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
That's a sweet
The specific answer there, as far as all that goes, if I had the opportunity to buy a McLaren, I knew I could afford to own it, I would definitely go to the dealer and I would test drive several different models to see which one I think actually fit me best versus going in with a line going, I'm pretty sure I want the 720S. You don't know. You don't know how you feel about something like that until you're in it. And when you're given that opportunity, it would behoove any person to drive all of them and find the one that actually tickles your fancy the right way.
Well, and what's fun is that I get to drive some of the real cars that are in the game, and I actually enjoy driving them in both places, whether it's real life or on a rainy day. I'll jump in the game and just drive the car in the game. I've got probably 2,500 miles on my Alfa Romeo Giulia in the game.
Yeah.
So I like driving the car, whether it's in game or in the roads.
The way I always phrase that is that Forza is an extension of my love of cars. It's another way to experience cars. It's a way to experience cars that you may never see, that you will likely, for certain, never drive. So that, for me, has always been the connection between why I was drawn to Forza. I played Forza before I worked at Turn 10 because that was a way for me to go racing when I could not afford a track car, or track days, or racing opportunities, or driver instruction and things like that. So that's for all of us. That's our common ground. That's our extension of our love of cars. So on that note,
very cool.
Want to wrap this up?
Woo! Yes, thank you very, very much
Fred,
for having
thank
me
you so
here.
much. You're the man.
I love
We'll be
it.
driving with this guy tomorrow here on the Northwest Alfa Romeo Club monthly.
He's not going to be in the front though. He's going to be in the back. He's going to be driving back there.
Yeah.
I'm leading.
I let the Alfa Romeos feel like they're faster. it's part of my club membership thing. I have to do that.
Oh, there have been some drives. Trust me, we can't get into these stories, but I remember driving through Oregon one time. I was driving my new Alfa Romeo, and I kept looking in the mirror, and there was this guy following me, like inches behind me, on every twisty road. And I kept thinking, if I go just a little faster, I'll lose him. But no matter what I did, this guy stayed right behind me.
Talk about those teachers that have made me a great driver. This is one of them. This is one of them. He's a great leader in the club. He's a great leader that's taught me a lot of things on drives that you never push yourself hard enough that you're actually worried about what's happening behind you. Right? He has a rare consciousness of the ability to have fun enthusiastically while not putting the people that are behind you in such a position that they're going to do something stupid. And with me behind him, there was a high likelihood that then I could do something stupid. But no, I've learned a lot, and and he's a great person to follow. And I never pass Fred. Not that I couldn't, but no, you don't pass the president.
Very cool. Hey, thank you everybody for being there today too, because I enjoyed this. I'm hoping you guys enjoyed it.
Yep.
And I enjoyed this guy. Do you guys like him?
I hope so. because I'd love to have. I can't wait till 20 years of Johniwanna.
Woo!
Wow. Despite coloring my beard, it won't matter. So, folks, that's our show for the night. Thank you for joining us. Follow the Real Johniwanna channel here so that you get notifications. I don't really need you to subscribe, but if you did, that'd be cool. Following will just let you know when I'm broadcasting. I will have a solid schedule of content coming at you shortly. Until then, I'm Johniwanna.
And I'm not.